If you need a new phone, you have three options. The first one is to buy an entry-level smartphone, phones that are very cheap but also very bad. The second option is to buy a high-end phone, smartphones that are wonderful but not exactly cheap. Meanwhile, your third option is to buy mid-range phones, which usually have good features and a fair price. However, there is a fourth option that very few people know, and that is to buy an old high-end phone. Phones that were the best of the best and that had, of course, outrageous prices. However, as time went by, these phones fell behind and their price decreased so much that they costed less than a current mid-ranger. And just because a couple of years went by, it doesn't mean that they became bad phones. On the contrary, most of the old high-end phones are much better than the current mid-rangers. That is why today I will present you a phone that was presented in 2021, and at that time it was the best you could buy for $1,000. However, we are no longer in 2021. And today you can buy it for less than $400. This phone is the Xiaomi 11 Pro, and in this video I will tell you why it is the best phone you can buy, but also why it was highly criticized at its time. With that said, let's start with this video. First, we go with the screen. In this case, we have a 6.8-inch AMOLED panel with Quad HD Plus resolution. If you didn't understand, this simply means that it is a large, sharp, and very colorful screen. Additionally, it has very thin frames and refreshes at 120 Hz, which means that it will look and feel much more fluid than the competition. Likewise, it is a very bright screen and is very well protected against bumps and falls. I say this because it is covered with Gorilla Glass Victus, the most resistant glass on the market. It is a step below the top phone screens, like the iPhone 15 Pro or the Galaxy S24 Ultra, but is still an amazing screen. Now let's talk about the performance. Well, I am happy to say that it is extraordinary, mainly because its processor is the Snapdragon 888, a processor that even today is among the most powerful on the market. That is why you will be able to play the best games with excellent fluidity, as well as perform heavy tasks in a matter of seconds. This chip is accompanied by up to 12 GB of RAM as well as 256 GB of storage. Thanks to this, your phone will never get stuck and you will never lack space to store photos, videos, or apps. The only disadvantage is that the processor tends to overheat, although it is not something very serious, to be honest. The cameras separate the real flagships from the mid-rangers, and as I expected, the ones on this phone are excellent. To begin with, the main camera has a huge 0.9-inch sensor and a resolution of 50 megapixels. Not only that, but it also comes with optical image stabilization. This means that the camera can physically move and thus counter for your bumps and shakes. Thanks to that, you will get better focused photos and more stable videos. This camera is accompanied by a 13-megapixel wide-angle camera and an 8-megapixel telescopic lens, which has 5 times optical magnifications. This means that you can get up to 5 times closer to your target without losing any quality. This is a feature that no mid-ranger has, and for good reason, as it is not cheap. The cameras seem to be excellent on paper, and luckily, they are also in real life. According to the reviews, the photos of this phone are very sharp, have little noise, and come with a nice background blur. Put simply, they are very good photos. Now it is time to talk about the design, which is honestly pretty solid. It is built in ceramic and aluminum and weighs 208 grams, so it is not exactly light. What I like the most though is that it has the IP68 certification, which means that you can swim and even dive with this phone. This type of resistance is a feature that can save you hundreds of dollars. It is also not cheap, so it's not a surprise that no mid-range has it. Therefore, I consider that the design of the Xiaomi 11 Pro is still excellent in 2024. Hey there, stay until the end of the video because I will compare this phone with its strongest competitors. Based on that, I will give it a score. And finally, I will tell you if you should buy it or if it's better to wait for another phone. The battery is also very important, and this phone doesn't disappoint. It incorporates a 5000 mAh battery, which has both wireless and reversible charging. But Elias, what is reversible charging? Well, it's a function that allows you to recharge other devices by placing them above your phone. This way, you can recharge your Bluetooth earbuds or smartwatches. The battery seems excellent in theory, but it is also in reality. According to reviews, the battery life of the Xiaomi 11 Pro is around 8 hours, so it should last you more than a whole day. If your battery runs dry, don't worry, it will recharge from 0 to 100 in less than 30 minutes. So watch a couple of YouTube videos and that's it, you're done. Finally, we come to the Achilles heel of this smartphone, and that is the software. We all know that Xiaomi and good software are two words that do not usually come together. That's just partially true though. The high-end Xiaomis have not had many problems and have never taken long to update. In fact, Xiaomi has promised 3 software updates, which means that this Xiaomi will be updated to Android 14 since it was launched with Android 11. Updates and bugs are not the problem. The real problem is that it was launched only in China. Because of that, its system is designed for the needs of this market, not for the Western world. Despite this, you can buy versions adapted to the global market. It is much better than using a Chinese version, but it will not be the same as using a phone designed for the West. Additionally, there will always be certain flaws. For example, the only selectable languages are English and Chinese, and there are some Chinese apps you can't delete. And yes, this is the reason why it was so criticized at its time. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the best sales and products from all over the internet. We have already talked about the most important specs, so now we are going to compare them with the competition. Based on this, we will rate each of the specs of this phone. First, the screen, and honestly the panel of the Xiaomi 11 Pro is quite good. It is much better to that of phones of the same price, like the Galaxy S21 FE, the Poco F5, and the Motorola Edge 2023. In this section, I give it a solid 9 out of 10. The next thing is performance, and honestly, both the configuration and the processor are excellent and far surpass most current mid-range phones. So in this category, I give it a well-deserved 7 out of 10. The performance would be useless without a good battery though, and luckily both the charging power and the battery life are incredible. However, the current mid-rangers offer batteries and charging powers very similar to that of this Xiaomi. Because of that, I give it a 7 out of 10. Next are the cameras. And this is where this Xiaomi leaves its competitors behind, since its cameras are infinitely superior to phones even twice as expensive. In fact, they are only surpassed by cell phone cameras like the iPhone 15 Pro or the 24 Ultra. Therefore, I give the cameras a 9 out of 10. Now the design. To be honest, the Xiaomi 11 Pro is very beautiful and very well built. But the most important thing is that it has the IP68 certification, a feature that no mid-ranger has. Therefore, I concede 10 points out of 10. Of course, I didn't forget about the software, and unfortunately, this is the weakest point of this smartphone. As I told you, it was only launched in the Chinese market, hence the software experience will never be the best. Because of that, I can only give 4 out of 10 points. It's not that the software is bad, it's just not for everyone. About the price, the Xiaomi 11 Pro costs $400. Honestly, it is not cheap if we compare it to cheaper mid-range phones. However, it offers us a lot for every dollar. For this price, you could buy phones like the Poco F5 or the Galaxy F54. Phones with a worse camera, a worse screen, and a worse design. This is why, as far as the price is concerned, I give it an 8 out of 10. Now, considering each of these scores, I give it an overall score of 8 out of 10. So yes, I highly recommend this phone. If you decide to buy this smartphone, I advise using the purchase link in the description down below. With this link, you can buy the global version in one of the largest and most reliable stores on AliExpress.